What is up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of Ironically Serious. It is your host, your one and true Taylor Torres. It's like a crazy, fun little fact about me. I am not Hispanic. And some of you might be surprised because you're like, your name is Taylor Torres, and Torres is a very Hispanic name. But for those of you who don't know my story, or maybe you didn't listen to some of the first episodes where I share that I am a divorcee, you would know that my original name, what do you call that shit? Oh, my maiden name was actually Robbins. And man, Taylor Robbins just has a good ring to it, but Taylor Torres, like the T squared, dynamite. I mean, you can't get much better with that. I always struggle. I'm like, if me and Josh get married, I would love to have his last name and the same name as my children, and we'd be, one household name. But Taylor Torres, it sounds so good. I love saying it. Anyways, I never changed it after I got divorced because if anyone has had their name changed before, there are like so many steps when you change your name. You have to change your social and all your bank accounts, and then you have to report that you change your name on like every future document, like any previous. It's just too much. So I'm like, if I would have changed it back to Robbins and then change it again if I got married, that's like 4 name changes. So I just kept the Torres and have to answer to someone almost weekly that no, I am not Hispanic. I am a white mutt. I'm the German. I'm the Polish. I do have Cajun in me, actually. Fun fact as well. Anyways, I have no idea why I even mentioned that. That's not how I was going to start the episode, but hi, hello, we are here. It is Friday. We're feeling good. I hope your week was fantastic. I hope you're getting ready for maybe a relaxing weekend at home, some self-care. Maybe you're doing some stuff with the fam this weekend. I know we are. We're going to Monster Jam. I'm so pumped about this because my son, Bub, is so obsessed with monster trucks. It is ridiculous. He's been obsessed with them since he was like 1.5. Anyone who knows my son knows that he loves monster trucks. He really loves cars in general, but monster trucks he's obsessed with. And he has hundreds of them. Not even kidding. That's not an exaggeration. And so this is the first year where like he's big enough and old enough to go to Monster Jam. So we are going this Sunday to Monster Jam in Houston, and we got the pit party passes. I'm gonna be so crunk. Even though I'm not drinking, I'm gonna be lit on this Monster Jam because we get to go down into the bottom of NRG, like on the field area, and meet the drivers and touch the trucks and see all the stuff going on. And it's before the Monster Jam starts. So it's like we get there, do that, and then see the Monster Jam in action. And I cannot wait to see Bub's face because I told him, I'm like, we're going to go to Monster Jam, but I don't think he understands what that is. And we've shown him the videos on YouTube of past events, and he gets so excited. He like zones in and kind of shakes. You're like, something's wrong with this child. I'm like, no, he's just obsessed with monster trucks. Regardless, maybe it's Friday, you're chilling, you're relaxing. I don't know, but I hope you're having a good week. And I'm excited for today's conversation because I have been thinking about my business, my job, and all of this. And it's funny because I'm literally recording in my office right now. And I've been thinking about my business and my office space. I don't know. I've just been like in my feels lately with my business and like all of the things, even like how I'm working day to day. And I'm recording this episode in my office, which I've had set up since we've lived in this house for the past 3 years. Obviously, podcasting is new. And so I'm trying to learn how I want to podcast and do live events virtually in my office. And right now you can almost actually see it in some of my videos I post on Instagram of the recaps of the recaps of the episodes. But I have my desk against a wall. I have like a really cute like metal shelf thing, 2 really large metal shelves on one wall, and then a couch. Dude, I may not be Joe Rogan, but I am trying to like jazz this office out. I want to have like a little podcasting area with a cool table and 2 chairs because eventually, you guys, I would love to have video. And I've been thinking about this, but I'm like, if I have guests, I would love to release the full guest episodes in video. And right now I record them anyways, but it's mostly for content, right? Like I'm not posting the full video up on YouTube, but I actually like watching podcasts. I love seeing people's reaction and their facial expressions, and like you just get a different experience when you can see it versus just hearing it. But I don't want to pay for a podcasting office. I don't want to pay for a space. I have a house. I have an office. I love it. And how dope would it be to have freaking whoever from the TikToks just fly him out to my house and do an episode? I'm thinking really big here. But I want to spice it up in here. So I'm going to go along this journey here in a couple of months and do a little office redo. In the meantime, though, I am definitely a Facebook Marketplace whore. Absolute goddamn slut when it comes to Facebook Marketplace. I am in so many messaging conversations of like, is this still available? Is this still available? If you're a Facebook Marketplace whore, you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say that they give you those pre-written responses and you can literally click it and it's like, hey, is this available? And the person's like, yes, are you still interested? But I will be in there like, oh, $50 buffet cabinet with a dent on the corner. I pulled up this image today. It was like this cabinet, tall, kind of armoire-esque, maybe for like China or something. And it had lights inside. It was pretty cute. It was like white and it had, some gold detailing on the, what the fuck do you call them? Handles? God, I don't even know. What is the word for like things that you grab? Am I even smart? Wow, I sound words. The handles were brass. I don't fucking know. Anyways, I messaged this girl. It's like $65. I'm like, I could totally do a DIY. Mind you, I've never DIY'd. Maybe like in high school, I did it a couple of times because I was broke. There's a difference when you DIY because you're fucking broke and DIYing because you like to DIY. Okay. I literally hire a handyman to come and do the smallest of household chores, like hanging up curtains, changing the freaking thing out of the sink, like trimming the bushes. I have Caesar on speed dial. Do you really think I'm going to DIY? Anyways, I told myself I'm going to DIY this cabinet. It's going to look so West Elm, baby. It's going to look fire. I was thinking like a dark espresso, maybe replace the knobs, the handles, whatever the fuck they're called. I messaged the girl. I'm like, would you take 50 for it? And where are you located? How big is it? Like, do I need a truck? She responds back. She's like, here's the height and weight, whatever. I'll give it to you for 50. Can you pick it up today? I didn't respond. I'm a mom. I'm working out. I'm working. I wasn't like, waiting for this response on this $65 cabinet. She responds again when I didn't respond, and she's like $45 if you pick it up now. It was the following text that, my womanly instincts start firing off. Those instincts that we have to protect ourselves from danger. She's like, I'm in a really bad situation. I just really need this picked up. I'm like, excuse me, I'm not about to go and drive up to your bad situation to pick up a $45 China buffet cabinet when I have zero DIY skills. This sounds like a trap. I'm like, block. Yeah, I regardless, I probably have more of those type of conversations than I actually do transactions on Facebook Marketplace. But bro, you can find some crazy stuff on Facebook Marketplace. One time I found, I don't even know what I was searching, or maybe it was like local pickup, and it was these latex face masks, like BDSM stuff, and the pictures had like hot dogs in them. It was disturbing. Anyways, I'm trying to spice up my life. And it was crazy because it had me thinking my office and the fact that I even have a podcast and that I want to make a space for my podcast. That's like saying like I want to go put rims on my G-Wagon. Like the fact you have the G-Wagon, that's the crazy part. The fact that I'm really having a conversation about my office that I in my home in this podcast. And like 4 years ago, I didn't have any of that. That's crazy. I'm even thinking about that. And it had me just being super nostalgic about my business and how far I've come and this just essentially new entire life I created from who I was then to now. And it can all of it, not all of it, I should say. There was a lot of factors that have brought me to where I am. But when it comes to business and where I'm at as an individual, as a creative, as an entrepreneur, it's all come down to this one thing. And that was becoming a virtual assistant. Boom! MLM enter the building. No, I'm just kidding. It's not an MLM. Fuck. Okay. Virtual assistants. What the fuck is that? If you haven't already listened to my episode, WTF do I do for a living? I don't remember what episode it was. I talk about the past 10 years of my career path, essentially, and how I got to where I was through photography, through virtual assistants, through my business, all of that. That's not what I'm talking about now. What I am talking about is the virtual assistants part specifically, because it's something I kind of always breeze over. And I've had so many conversations recently with people I know, people I don't know, who I connect through networking or that I've, know through the online space, or peers or people from my past, whoever it is. I've had multiple conversations of people saying, I am interested in this thing called virtual assistants. What is it? How do I get started? Like, is this even the right path? And then a lot of the people are like, I know you were a virtual assistant and like, look what you do now. There has to be some kind of correlation of success of where you're at and the freedom and the money to do what you want to do with a virtual assistant business. And I'm like, yes to all of the above. Becoming a virtual assistant is probably one of the best choices I have made in my entire life. And it sounds cliche of like, oh, I started my own thing. I had already started a business prior to becoming a virtual assistant. I had a photography business. It wasn't the first entrepreneurial jump for me. Like, yes, that was impactful. Starting a photography business in my teens was cool. But this was the first risk I took where there was actual risk involved with the decision to pursue the path. I talked about it in that last episode, but Cliff Notes. The year is 2019. I am a couple months pregnant. I just quit a bartending job at a strip club because I found out I was pregnant with my boyfriend of 3 months. That sentence alone, you already know I was in a terrible place. Financially, mentally, I just got knocked up. I had been working at a bar for 2 years. Yeah, it was a shocker, right? Find a job at a social media agency and realized I needed a side hustle. I needed to make more money. It wasn't a desire. It was, I have a baby coming in 6 months. I can either get my shit together now or never. Find a side hustle as a VA. Now, at the time, I didn't know what the fuck a virtual assistant was. I didn't even call it that. I got onto a Facebook group. Again, this is a story I told in that episode. Posted in a photography group and asked if anyone needed help. Now, mind you, I didn't know what a virtual assistant is. And a lot of people now, because it's become a common small business in an online service-based industry space, more and more people are starting to understand virtual assistants. And after COVID, especially, that term has just blown up, right? Because not just small businesses and entrepreneurs and startups and mom and pop shops are going virtual with virtual assistants, but corporate companies and big brands are going virtual and hiring virtually. So what actually is a virtual assistant? I had no idea either. A virtual assistant is a person who is organized, who is attentive, who's a problem solver, who is a go-getter, a quick learner, who helps someone complete tasks. They are the person that is being delegated to, whether that is the delegation from a business owner or a public figure or a brand or an entity, whatever it is. They hire a virtual assistant to delegate tasks and pass off daily operations to help make things run. And the beautiful thing about virtual assistants is that people with small businesses under $100,000 a year invest in virtual assistants because they need help running their business, or if they ever want to scale, they need help. You have people who are making multiple six figures who hire virtual assistants. You have entrepreneurs who are making 7 figures and who will hire assistants and maybe more elevated role. The point is, there's a lot of fucking opportunity. And if there's anything we've learned through COVID and through the past couple of years, is the power of social media and the power of virtual availability, meaning you can work virtually. It's crazy. Now, I'm always a stat girl. I love stats. I don't know why. I don't know why I love stats, but this one blew my mind because I was like, how many small businesses are there right now in 2023? And how many of them are like actually single, like solopreneurs or have no employees, right? Like just individuals. Maybe they're contracting work, but maybe they don't have actual paid employees. Right now in the US, there are 33.2 million small businesses. What the fuck? 27.1 million of those are run by a solopreneur, a single owner, no employees. 27 million people are running businesses by themselves. And if you've never run a business, which you don't need to have ever known how to run a business to be a virtual assistant, but if you've never run a business, I want to tell you something. It is hard running a business. Business owners need help, no matter if they're brand new, no matter if they're 10 years in, if they're big, they're small, e-commerce, service-based, it doesn't matter. Business owners need help. There are only so many hours of the day. There's only so much time. There's only so much information business owners can learn and do on their own until they have to get help, whether that's an expert, like hiring a social media manager or hiring a branding and web designer or a coach. But when it comes to time saving, which is what a lot of business owners are looking for, they need someone who can just do the little shit, the busy work, the answering the emails, the picking this up from the store, the anything like that. And a lot of that is going to be virtual. Maybe not the picking it up from the store. Yeah, that's not virtual, but booking, traveling, ordering things, working on marketing material, right? There's so many things we can do virtually. And when I started that side hustle, I was like, I know photography. I know how to do things. I'm organized. I'm a problem solver. I've worked my way up and had so much experience that I could apply to someone else. I could do that. I wasn't calling it a virtual assistant. I had no real understanding of business to a higher level. I was a young business owner. It wasn't anything crazy. I'd never made $100,000, right? It was a small business. And I had no experience, but I said, I know I could help people, more of like an independent contractor, right? Why did I mention this stat? The crazy thing is that means that there are 27.1 million opportunities of people who are looking for a virtual assistant. That is so much. And that's honestly why the virtual assistants world has blown up. And hence why I've had these conversations with people in all different walks of life. I've had a conversation with a mom who's in her 50s, who is working at a corporate job, who wants to have more time freedom to spend with her family and travel. I've talked to an artist who's young and single and who wants to make a career switch so she can do something she loves. I've talked to another young woman who's in a relationship and she's a nurse and wants to have the freedom to do what she wants on her own schedule. Like there's so many people who want to become virtual assistants who are interested in it. And the common denominator is freedom of time, freedom of schedule, freedom of income. We want more freedom or we want control of those things. And it's an amazing option for people in so many different walks of life because, again, it's virtual. You don't have to have a business. I'm going to talk about that. You don't have to have experience. You can get that. You can gain that. You can figure it out as you go. It's truly an industry where you can learn as you go. And people are super understanding of that because it's not a super high level field. It's not an expertise. It is someone who can take on tasks, who has great time management and who's organized and who can give feedback and do shit. That's what it is. And a lot of people have that ability to do that. Now, if you're like interested and you're like, this sounds amazing, or you've heard of this and you've seriously considered it, starting a side gig as a VA or looking for a VA position, part-time, something. I don't want to lie that it's incredible and I'm going to tell you more about why, but I want to be honest about something. Anytime you are switching a career, Anytime you are starting something big, like a new job or a new position, anytime you are having to start entry level or from the beginning or learn as you go, it will be hard. You will have to learn. I think there's a maybe not talked about stigma that being a virtual assistant is super easy. You just answer emails and you like check off tasks. The people that you may have heard of who were virtual assistants and became viral TikTok coaches, or the people like me who are virtual assistants and ended up starting another business out of it or switching gears and becoming an educator. We had to do the hard shit. It didn't just happen overnight. It wasn't just easy. We had to learn. We had to go through the trenches. And I think that's so important. And it's not just virtual assistants, it's anything that you start that's new. You have to be willing to go through the trenches because it's not going to be easy. There's going to be things that are very attractive about that thing, about virtual assistants or a new career path or a new position that maybe you're not getting right now in the current one. But there's going to be the exact opposite as well. There's going to be difficulties that you don't currently have that you have to deal with. I know for me, one of the biggest difficulties when I left my full-time job to take my virtual assistants full-time, I had been doing virtual assistants for April through October. What is that? Like 7 months. And by October, I had started making the same amount of money as my social media management position at an agency. And so I told myself when I got to that point, I would quit the full-time job and take the business full-time since I wasn't making any difference in income. What I didn't consider, and this is something that is so true with being a business owner, no matter what industry or business you're stepping into, you can't turn it off. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. It is a beautiful thing as well. But like when you become a business owner or you step into something like virtual assistants, there's no clocking in and clocking out. There's no office. You don't work and log in at 9 and log off at 5. There is a lot of back end things that are going on to propel you as you navigate entrepreneurship or virtual assistants. There is mindset work. There's things you have to learn that are technical about running a business. There are skills you're going to have to acquire and fine tune, like pitching and selling and asking questions. There's just so many little nuances that you don't consider. And it's not always easy. It's not, you don't just have a skill and you start offering it. And I always want to keep that in mind because something I have learned is that people are attracted to online work and online businesses because there is freedom. But I always say before you start, before you dive in, consider what you're going to pay for that freedom. Again, maybe you have a higher income ability because you have no ceiling because you're not strapped to the wage that your company is giving you, but you're going to have to work for that. So you may be costing yourself time, right? Maybe you're gaining more time freedom, but you're costing the health benefits you get from your job. There's like things you have to consider, like those small details that we don't always consider when we think the grass is greener. Now, I don't want to make this negative because it's not. I literally told you that one of the best things that's ever happened to me is becoming a virtual assistant. So yes, with anything, there's risks, there's fear, there's imposter syndrome out the ass. There's so many nuances to becoming a business owner. And if you're wanting to become a virtual assistant, that is probably in your future. Running your own virtual assistant's business is something you would get serious about if you're serious about making it a career option. But like I said, every career comes with roadblocks. Every career comes with fear. There's nothing we can do that doesn't have an element of uncomfortability or the unknown because at some point we all have to start somewhere. But the good parts about being a virtual assistant are so fucking worth it. So worth it. I was just having this conversation on the phone today. A girl that I connected with through my financial advisor, she just linked us up via email, said, hey, this might be a great connection. This person is interested in becoming a VA, and I know that you were. Here's your details. Y'all connect. Me and the girl connected. We got on a phone call today, and it was no strings attached. I wasn't trying to sell anything. I really believe in passing on information to people after us. I think that if you have learned something and you've been through the trenches, helping other people is such a beautiful thing, not only for others, but for yourself to give back, because there was probably someone who gave to you, and there was times you had to ask for help or for feedback or guidance. And so we got on the call and I was just chatting with her, and I said, dude, one of the best things about becoming a virtual assistant is that it is like a platform, like a starting place for so many different job opportunities. It's crazy. Because she was saying, it's not like I'm trying to be a virtual assistant forever. She's like, I have other things I'm in. I'm currently in school. Like, I have interests, but I really want the schedule and the freedom to explore all of the options in front of me. And I love that. I love a woman who is like, I want to explore my options and I want to have the freedom to do so comfortably. So I'm like, hell yes. The virtual assistant is amazing because once you're in it, you have control over the type of people you work with, the type of businesses you're involved with, how and when you work, and what you do in your role. Because virtual assistance is not one category. It's not like saying social media manager, where you are just social, or copywriting, or ads, or whatever it may be. Virtual assistance is such a malleable term because it can mean anything. You can have a virtual assistant who does everything, who does 100 different things they know about. You could have a virtual assistant who knows everything about photography and they only do tasks related to photography stuff. You have virtual assistants who are experts in certain arenas. Like, yes, they can do X, Y, and Z, but they're experts at Pinterest. They have an extra skill set. So the position alone is like, you can decide, what do I already know how to do? What's a skill I have? What's an expertise I have? For example, the girl I was talking with, she is in school to be a doula and she knows doulas and she's been around them. And I'm like, perfect. That's an industry you're involved in. You already know about it. You want to work in it in the future. You're obviously not ready to start your own business. So why not work under another business owner who's doing something you want to do? That, bringing that skill and that expertise, and then to a business owner that you'd like to work with, maybe you look up to them, or you like how they run their business, or you like their personality, or you feel like they're a good mentor. Virtual assistance gives you these opportunities, honestly, to learn and expand on skills and to work closely with people who are making moves. If someone's hiring a virtual assistant, that means they're busy. They have things going on. They're making money. They have clients. They're growing. I think one of the coolest things that I was exposed to as a virtual assistant in the year and a half that I was doing it, and then before I started Chanel & Lee, but really it was about 2.5 years that I was serving in that capacity, whether it was elevated or whether it was an entry level. I learned from so many business owners, all different walks of life, men, women, different ages, different industries, and got to just take every single piece of knowledge they gave me and like tuck it in my pocket. They had an opinion on this, tucked it in my pocket. They had a strategy for this, tucked it in my pocket. Like, all of the things I was able to learn and consume and practice and get paid to understand for them was a wealth of knowledge. And virtual assistance is the reason I have the business I have today. It is the reason I know so much that I know, because I learned and spent so much time working for other people in their business that I learned how to work in a business. I would not know as much and organically as I do if it weren't for that position that gave me so many opportunities. Was it hard? Yes. Did I work for those opportunities and sell my ass off and pitch myself and work really hard to be the best assistant ever? Absolutely. But the opportunity beyond that, and there are so many virtual assistants who have grown into all kinds of positions, from expert skills to agency owners to coaching other virtual assistants to having virtual assistants under them. Like, there's so many opportunity. It's actually insane. So my few tips, if you are wanting to start a virtual assistance business, I'm going to walk you through just a couple of things I want you to keep in mind. First of all, figure out what you actually want to do. I see a lot of virtual assistants go into it saying, I can do anything, or like, I'll just say yes and figure it out. That will come to bite you in the butt because you will end up doing things you have no idea how to do. And that's an awkward conversation to be like, oh, I actually don't know how to do this. Now I have to learn, and it's going to cut out of my time or your time or whatever, or it's going to be delayed. Or you do know how to do it and you hate it, and now you have to do it because you already said you would. Be specific about what skills do you offer, and also get specific with who you want to work with. Those two things are the first step when it comes to deciding if you want to start a virtual assistant business. People get excited about starting businesses. You want to do the fun stuff. You want to make the logos. You want to get the website and get the Instagram handles. You can't create any of that in a business until you know who you're trying to sell to and what you're selling to them. That's for any business. That's for a candle company. That's for lube. That's for virtual assistants. Like, before you start your business, you need to know, what am I offering and who am I selling it to? Once you have those things, then you can start to develop a plan of action. How are you going to start getting clients? And there's two routes I always kind of look at. You can go the route of starting a business, start the virtual assistant studio, get the business name, get the website, start with all of that under your belt. And that's a great option. A lot of people do that. You also have the freelance route, and a lot of creatives do this as well. And this is especially true if you don't have a lot to invest in the moment, or you don't have a lot of time to put into all of that, or you're just not even really sure where to begin, or you need to start making money and start getting clients soon rather than later. You can promote yourself as a freelance assistant. This is how I hired my own assistant, who I have worked with. She's been on my team now for 2 freaking years. I freaking love her. Hi, Ellie. She's probably going to listen to this episode. She's amazing. I found her on LinkedIn. She didn't have a virtual assistant's business. She didn't have a website. She didn't have an Instagram. She didn't send me a proposal with packages. I hired her as a freelancer. We went through an interview process. She had her resume that she submitted to my job posting, and that's how she found the position. Now she has so many opportunities through photography, through other clients. She has acquired more VA clients. All that's to say, you can go the route of starting a business, or you can go the route of gaining experience and really putting yourself out there as a freelancer, as a contractor, for your skills. So that's really the first step, figuring out what you want to do, who you're selling to, and then your plan of action to start actually getting clients. Now, there's so many topics I could literally go on for days about this. And it's funny because I've never really talked about this. I've talked about my own story, but it's always a little farther along, not like the first planning steps. But I've had so many conversations lately, and I think there's just this collective desire with a lot of people in their 20s and maybe even 30s that are wanting to start their own thing. And there is something very attractive about doing stuff you like and stuff that you're skilled at, and helping other businesses, and kind of being like the behind the scenes Robin to the Batman. Is it Batman and Robin? Yeah. You're the Buzz Lightyear to the Woody. Yeah. I loved that. I loved being a cheerleader. And I think there is a type of person who can fit that space and that position so well. And if that's you, go for it. I think becoming a virtual assistant was the riskiest thing I did and the hardest thing I've done, and would not change it for a freaking thing. Would not change it for a thing. Now, you guys know this isn't a business podcast, so I'm obviously not going to go into this like huge spiel of applicable business implementation and resources and all of that. I do that all day long, so it's not something I'm trying to incorporate into this podcast. But I did want to talk about this because it is such a huge part of my story. It's something so many of you guys have asked me about, and who I know listen to this podcast. And I think it can be a really great conversation to just get a viewpoint from someone who's done it and was successful with it. And I'm all about sharing what worked and what hasn't worked. So if you are feeling a fire under your butt because of this conversation and you have a question, feel free to DM me. DM me on Ironically Serious. You can DM me on Tay Torres. You can DM me on Chanel and Lee. I don't care. If you have questions about being a virtual assistant, like, I am here. I have been through it. I have come out on the other side, and I found a lot of success with it. And I also had a lot of trial and error. I had to do things that worked. I figured out things that didn't work. I made mistakes. I really went through it. And I know that there's something really special about getting that honest feedback from someone who's been where you're trying to go. As always, I love you guys. I'm excited for some guests coming up soon. I had a little break from guests throughout the Christmas break, and I had some reschedules. So I knew that there was going to be a lot of solo episodes in a row. So I hope you bitches ain't tired of me, okay? Because I know I have been talking on these episodes every single week. But I do have guests coming up, I promise. And next week I have a special episode that I'm excited about. So I will see you guys right here next Friday on Ironically Serious. Later, babe.